Sarah, and welcome to my YouTube video where I plan to tell you about everything that I've made in the year 2021 so far. There's still about 2 weeks left in the year, so I'm sure I'll have a few other odds and ends off my needles. I thought that this would be a great time and place to start sharing what I'm making with the world via YouTube. Some background information about me is I'm 25, I live in Philadelphia in the USA, and I've been knitting on and off since I was 6 years old, but seriously knitting for the past 4 or 5 years. And I'm really excited to join the community of knitters and makers online. I think that that would be awesome. I've been a watcher of knitting podcasts for a while, and I was recently inspired to put myself out there as well. So I'll get going. You might see my cat interrupt this video. The first thing that I made in the year 2021 was this cardigan. It's the Cardigan number 2 pattern by Bush, and here it is. There you can see how long it is. I used Quince & Co. Chickadee in the colorway Parchment, and I used a full 9 skeins of it. This took forever. I started it in October of the year before, and it was mostly just the stockinette back and forth that took me so long. I ended up modifying the pattern quite heavily because originally the sleeves were very wide and I wanted to be able to wear this under coats. So I thought that that would be an easy modification. I was wrong. It ended up being kind of a difficult modification with grafting and this little piece there, reworking the lace so that it went onto the arm. But I like the result. One thing about this yarn though is that it's pilling horribly, and I haven't worn this that much. I don't really think that the color suits me. I think that it really brings out the pink in my skin, which I don't love, but I would consider dyeing it or wearing it anyway. But I haven't put the buttons on yet because I'm still considering dyeing it. It's got this really nice garter edging that I did on size 2.5 millimeter needles, and I think that that worked really well. So this is the first thing that I made. The second thing was my Slipstravaganza, the cowl from Stephen West for 2020. And here it is. I really love this shawl. It's the only shawl that I've made, and it gets quite a lot of wear in the winter, in the colder months, and sometimes in the spring when I don't want to wear a jacket. I'll just wear the shawl. And I think it's really beautiful. This one also took me forever. The border, it felt like 1,000,000 years. I used yarn from my stash. The dark blue which is the main color, is Ink by Hedgehog Fibers. This is a color by Woolen Boone, who is a dyer who had stopped dyeing, but now I think is back in the dye pots. So that's pretty exciting. I don't remember the name of the color, but I really like it. I think it's cool. And then this gray is, I think, it's by Neighborhood Fiber Co. I don't remember the name of the color. I'll put it in the you can look at it on my Ravelry page if you want. And then this turquoise is Hedgehog Fiber in the color Wish. All but the Neighborhood Fiber Co. is a single ply, and it's really a beautiful fabric. Yeah, this was my second make. Another success. The third thing I made was the Linked Hat by Taylor Owen. Here it is. It's got these beautiful big cable motifs. I ended up altering the top because I didn't want it to have such a slow, narrowed point. I think that it turned out pretty good. And I like to wear this folded up at the brim. I have a really small head, so normally I always make the smallest size hats, but this one I wanted to use this yarn, which is the Fiber Co. Road to China Light in the color Amaranth, which has this really, it's like got a purple sheen, which is nice. So I made the medium size with smaller needles. And it turned out great. No complaints from me. After I finished this, I rescued a project that had been lost during the COVID move that I did with my boyfriend. I had started it summer 2019. No, the summer of 2020. But when we got to where we had moved to, I just had no idea where this project was. And I only found it in February of the next year. So I finished that, but I can't show it to you because I've given it to my dad. The hat is the Correlation Hat by Hunter Hammerson, and it's really beautiful. It's double-sided, but it's not double-sided knitting, and it has different cables on each side. And I saw it on Instagram, and I knew that I wanted to make it. I thought this pattern designer is a genius, and it was a pretty challenging pattern, but it looks really cool. And I made it with some yarn that I got at a farmer's market in Brooklyn. I think it was by Catskill Merino, and it was cream with some brown speckles and some turquoise speckles. And it was very woolly and nice. So that was a great project. I would make another one of those because it's very impressive. The next thing I made was a pair of socks. I'll put one on the sock blocker that I was wearing these yesterday. Here they are. It's the Magic Toadstool socks by Stone Knits. I think that they're very cute. I just wanted to use stash, and I had all of the right colors in Whole Super Soft, So I just decided, even though it's not the most ideal sock yarn, that I would just do that. And they're fine. They're not really socks for going out and about because the leg is stretched out, and they're sort of felted on the bottom, but they're really, I wear them mostly around the flat, and I really like them. And Hol's Super Soft, knit on such a fine gauge, makes a really nice fabric. It's like, it's just good stuff. I did a duplicate stitch to make the spots on the mushrooms because I didn't want to deal with 3-strand color work, 3-color color work on a sock. Although I ended up doing that later in the year. So then it was the end of February, and that's my boyfriend's birthday is in March, and I wanted to make him a cowl that was really warm for his birthday. I used Cascade, chunky alpaca, and I think a Plymouth Yarns chunky baby alpaca. I'll put in some photos so you can see what it looked like. It's really beautiful and soft, very heavy, and he really likes it. He gets a lot of wear out of it. So that one was a win. After I finished the cowl for my boyfriend, I saw on Instagram that there was a knit along for the Magic Dancer socks by Sari Norland, I think. And I decided I would take part because I had just gotten a really beautiful skein of Neighborhood Fiber Co. Studio sock, which I think that they've changed recently and now it's organic. So that's cool. But I don't know if the color is still available or if it's there but different. But I can tell you that the color of these socks is my favorite color. I'll put it on a blocker. And it's this gorgeous gold. The ruffle at the top is really easy to do. It's only like around a 4-row endeavor to get this ruffle. And I think that it's very effective. The only thing which you can kind of see from the way it is on the sock blocker is since there's no ribbing anywhere in the leg, it tends to fall down. So I think if I made these again, I would either make them ankle socks or throw in a couple of rounds of rib after the ruffle. Sorry about the drilling, by the way. I'm not sure if you can hear that. There's always drilling. These socks have been worn a lot, but they're also sort of looking a little bit worse for wear with pilling and felting in the heel. There's no nylon in this, but it is like applied superwash yarn that is sold as a sock yarn. So I don't mind some visible wear in a sock, but that's just something to note since it is sold as a sock yarn. That there's a funny long pill that goes all the way around the heel. Next, I did not get off the sock train. I stayed on the sock train and I made another stone knits pattern. And it was, here's one of them. It was the Berry Special socks. These are the socks that had 3-color stranded color work. And isn't it beautiful? This is a handsome sock. The green is Malbrigo sock Ivy, which I've used in a couple other projects. The red I think is called Ravelry Red, and then this background color is by Neighborhood Fiber Co. And I don't remember what the color is called because I bought it a long time ago. But I really love it. I think it's stunning. These socks don't fit me that well. This sort of heel is not the best for my foot shape. It doesn't really stay on my heel. And this was my first time doing an all-over colorwork sock, and I think that my tension is a little bit off. So these don't get the most wear, but I do think that they're really cute. And I don't know if I'd make another pair, but I'd make another pair in the style of the Toadstool socks with just one strawberry color repeat around the top of the sock. Then it was summer, and I embarked on summer knitting. I'm going to take these off. I'd been excitedly anticipating the release of The Outline Tank by Jessie Mae Martinson, and as soon as it came out, I bought yarn in advance. I got the Lue wet spun linen in the color Cobalt and pre-washed it twice and dried it in the dryer. And then as soon as the pattern was released, I cast it on. So when I show you my outline tank, it might look a bit different to other outline tanks you've seen. You can see that the fabric has a really lovely swishy drape. Basically, I just had problem after problem with this design. It was enormous on me, even though I picked a size that had 0 inches of positive ease. And I swatched, so I don't know exactly what happened with that. The triangle cup shaping was it just like there was a lot of fabric in my armpits, and it looked awful. And when I dropped the stitches down, which I was so excited to do after following this pattern online for months, it left such an open section in the middle of the shirt that I wouldn't have wanted to wear it without anything underneath. And it's a summer shirt. I don't want to have to wear something underneath a summer tank top. So I decided I would turn it inside out, and then pick up the dropped stitches, but make the purl side the right side and do a twist. Twist the stitches as I picked them up. So it came out looking like this, which I think is nice. I think it turned out pretty well. I wore it a lot over the summer, but this pattern caused me a lot of grief and was one of those projects that felt like it would never be finished. So I don't think that I would knit this again, but I might make another sort of similar looking tank top. But I don't know if I would recommend this to another person looking to make it. Unless you see someone online who's made it with a similar yarn to what you're going to use, who has a similar body type to you. I would probably make a different tank top, personally. I do like this yarn though, but you do have to wash it if you want to make a garment before, or the gauge is huge, really loose. After I made the outline tank top, well actually while I was in the middle of making the outline tank top, I cast on another Jessie Mae pattern out of frustration because I didn't know what to do with the blue guy. And it was where is it? Here it is. The Flutter butt top. And you might be looking at this and thinking, that also looks very different to the way that the original pattern is written. And I ended up modifying this one as well, and also not being that happy with the way that this turned out. The yarn is from a dyer on Etsy called Swoon Fibers, who I really love. I love all of her yarns. It ended up pooling in the middle. I wish it hadn't, but it doesn't bother me enough to unravel it. And I decided that I really didn't like the ruffle sleeve, so I thought that I would knit a 3/4 length sleeve onto it. But I think that I need to pick this sleeve out and redo it, because it doesn't, the sort of sleeve I did doesn't suit how it's off the shoulder. And there's no neck shaping in the design. I just think that patterns like this, there's so little there's just no shaping. So it doesn't, I don't end up liking the end product so much. I get very excited because I think that they look so great on other people, and then I make them and I've just made a square, and I am disappointed in how it turns out for me. So either I'll redo the sleeves, or if a friend tries this on and likes it, I might give it away. I love the yarn, and I have some more of it. It's December Mind is the color name. So this is another project that took a million years. So that's that. Next, I made another summer shirt. This is the Spring Sorrel by Woolen Pine. I really liked the normal sorrel yoke. I thought that it was gorgeous, and I was really happy when they released the spring version. And so, that was just a fuzzy. So I cast it on. I think I used 3.5mm needles and knitting for olive pure silk, which gave me a tighter gauge than the pattern suggested, so I went up. I think I knit the size 3X, and it fits me perfectly. The neckline has stretched out a lot since I finished it. I wanted it to have sort of a tighter neck, and it did originally, but it has since stretched out. But I do still like the fit. I really like this yarn. It's really soft and nice to wear. And I have it written down. I used 136 grams for this, which is almost 3 balls, just for reference. Yeah, I wear that a lot. I love this color. I think it's really great. Then the Woolly Thistle, which is an online knitting shop that I love, had a knit along for socks. And I had just bought the Linnea 52 Weeks of Socks book, so I decided I would cast on a pair, and I did. Unfortunately, these socks are sort of ill-fated. They're the Dear Bjorn socks, which is the last pattern in the book, and I made them out of West Yorkshire Spinners signature 4-ply in the color Lysanthemus or something like that. I like the pattern. They're really beautiful. It was a pretty fun texture to knit, and they fit really well, although this pattern takes out a lot of the stretch from the final product. So if you're between sizes, you should go up. These stay up well on my ankle because they're so tight they can barely get over my heel. However, 2 unfortunate things have happened to this pair of socks. The first is moth. One of them has a moth hole. I will get around to fixing it in the next week or two. But it's a shame. The second thing, which you might be able to see, is that when I washed these, I think that they were next to something that bled onto them. So they have this mottled blue. I haven't washed them since then, so I'm not sure if it will come out. I don't think that it will. It's fine. It's just a bit of a shame. These are very unlucky socks. But the pattern was good, and I made them pretty quickly, and I really liked this yarn. Then I made another pair of socks, which was in the Swoon Fiber sale. I bought this self-striping sock yarn, which I don't think that the dyer does regularly, but I'm glad that I got it. I really like it. I think it's beautiful. It's got these darker spots, and I like the colors. I just used a normal vanilla sock recipe to make them. I have over half a ball left, so I could make another pair as a gift maybe. And these were like just something to knit on the train. And they're good. I'm glad that I made them. The summer top knitting did not end at the spring sorrel, because after I finished the striped socks, I cast on a ranunculus. Is this the front or the back? That's the back. I used Quince & Co. Willet. They're cotton in the color almond. The first cardigan is in parchment and this one is almond. I don't know if I said it right the first time, but it's their cotton. It's very soft, but it is extremely fragile. In fact, I'm not sure if this will come up on camera, but you can see a line across the front from where my crossbody bag goes. And every time I wear this, I leave pills just trailing behind me like footsteps in a forest. I haven't worn it that much for those reasons, so I don't really know if I got cut off by my alarm going off to leave for my appointment to get the COVID booster vaccine. So now I'm back. I've been boosted, and I think I was talking about how this didn't wear very well. And it hasn't. Oh, I remember. I was saying, I don't know if it's just an initial pill and then it will be fine, or if it's just going to pill until there's nothing left. So, yeah. I don't love knitting with such a loose gauge. I just don't find that I enjoy the fabric that results from it. And I went down a few needle sizes. I think I knit this on a 5mm. But yeah, so there's my ranunculus. I would consider making another version with much thicker wool and usable wool and long sleeve. I think that would be nice because I did enjoy knitting the yoke. Next, I made this jumper. It's the Paloma jumper. The pattern is by Espace Tricot, and I made it using a using Pearl Soho line weight in the color Red Pine, which I think has been discontinued, and one strand of mohair, which was a gift from my dad when he went to France. He brought me back 10 balls of this really beautiful, bright red, thick mohair, and I really love this. I think that this is amazing. It has a split hem, and this detail down the side. I accidentally cast on 14 too few stitches for the neck, so it's kind of tight. I tacked down half of it, so it's a folded over neck, and with it being tacked down, it's sort of loosened up quite a bit. And I really like this. It's got a lot of positive V's. It's extremely warm, and I thought that it was a really good pattern. I enjoyed making it a lot. Then I spent most of the month of October participating in the Stephen West knit along, which I can't show you that project in this video because I haven't finished it, but you'll see it in an upcoming video maybe. But I whipped up in one day the Poetica beret, which is it's pretty good. It was an incredibly fast knit. I used 5.5mm DPNs and 3 strands of Hulst Super Soft in the black color, and I made it originally to be part of my Halloween costume. I was going with my boyfriend, and we were going to be Howl and Calcifer from Howl's Moving Castle, and I was Calcifer, so I thought I would recreate the scene where Sophie first gets into the castle and she makes a fried eggs and bacon on the frying pan, and there's the great shot of Calcifer with the frying pan on his head. So I felted some eggs and some bacon onto safety pins, and I pinned them onto my hat so that it could be the frying pan, and it was very cute. I don't think I took any pictures of it, and I had felted the safety pins on so that they could turn into just like brooches, so I ended up giving all of the brooches away. But it was a fun costume, and I really like this beret. I was thinking about felting it, but which I might do in the future. Here, you can see the decreases. Let me check the name of the designer. It's by Gabriella Triminio. It's a great pattern. I kind of want to make one in every color. It was extremely fast to knit as well. Next is, this is a big one. I finished this. I'll put it on. Probably wouldn't wear this over another turtleneck normally. This is in the color Biscuit by Ching Fiber and the color Plump from Hedgehog Fiber. And it has a storied past. this began in 2019 as a ripple crop top. Right after I bought this wool, I was so excited. I love this color. I've been eyeing it up in my yarn store for months, and as soon as I got it, I cast on a ripple crop top, which I really, really wanted to make at the time. And after I had knit the body, and I was about ready to split for the arms, I started looking at the pictures on Ravelry and on Instagram, and I just didn't really think that the end result was for me. I didn't really like how the sleeves just stuck out. I didn't think that that would suit me. And I really wanted to make something that I would wear and love, because it's a really expensive yarn, and I really like it. So it went on hold for years. Eventually, I decided that I wanted to do long sleeves, and I knew I didn't have enough wool. I only had 2 skeins, so I didn't have enough wool to make a full long-sleeved garment, and I couldn't get any more. I couldn't find any of this color online at all. So I thought I would do a contrast sleeve, and I figured that I would use a pattern that I used before, which is Kate Davies' Carbeth jumper. And because I really like the way that the decreases look, and I thought that that would look pretty cool with the contrast sleeve, and then it would go into a half and half neck. And oh boy, did this take a long time. I felt like I was being held prisoner by this single ply fingering weight ribbed project. It didn't help that I kept having to knit and then rip back and then try and rip it out from the bottom and then cut, because I kept running out of wool and I was cannibalizing it from the bottom up. But eventually I finished, and I think it's pretty good. I'm a little disappointed because the sleeves are short. I did not intend for the sleeves to be short. And when I tried the sleeves on, they were fine. But somehow, now they're really short. I don't have enough of this yellow to make them any longer. So it is what it is. I think that I'll get some wear out of this. I don't know. I finished this quite recently. It's very difficult to block because I didn't want the color to bleed, the dark color to bleed onto the yellow. And when I put it in the water, it was releasing a lot of purple. So I was sort of nervous to try and block it because I just wanted it to be dry as fast as possible, and I didn't really want to have to pin anything or move anything around. This is mattress stitched, this whole seam, and it's about this long. So I think it's cool. I don't think that I would make another garment in single ply merino now. I just think that I know better, and it's already sort of pilling just from the stress of being created. So like this I've worn like 2 or 3 times. But I know better now, and I'll get wear out of it. Hopefully it will continue to look good. I'll take it off. The penultimate item in this video are a pair of holiday socks. I used the West Yorkshire spinner holiday colorway, which is vintage tinsel, and the color Blueberry Bonbon for the heels and toe, to make this pair of broken rib socks. I really like them. They fit great. Blueberry Bonbon is a good match for the blue, and it would look flawless if I hadn't put a blue stripe right next to where the heel was. So you can see there's a bit of a difference in color, but I don't think that it matters. It's just sort of interesting. And I was not a Stellina fan before I used this, but now I love it. I would totally make more socks with this. I want to make some more pairs because ideally I could make a pair for each of my parents for the holidays. I don't know if that will actually happen, but I'm going to try. But I really like them. I think that they are fun. And I just did my usual heel flap and gusset heel, which fits me the best of everything that I've tried. Lastly, this is technically a whip, but I'm so close to finishing it, and it's taken so much mental space that I want to talk about it in this video. And that is the Betty and Judy Lodge sweater by Poison Girl Knits. First I'll show you the button, which is so cute. I think it's like leather. Oh. And I got it, my grandmother gave me her button box with buttons through her adult life. So this was from the button box, which is cool. I'll put it on to show you. I made this out of 2 strands of Holst Super Soft held together. And the green is actually a marl of the color Cossack and the color Tundra. And I think it's lovely. That's what the marl looks like. This sort of off-white is almond, which I've used in a lot of projects now, and I really like it. So this is, I haven't really worn it out yet. This is what it looks like. It's cropped, it's got a bit of a puff shoulder, and it will have more embroidery on it. You could have done stranded color work, but I just chose to do a duplicate stitch after, and I'm glad that I did, because I ended up having a lot of fit complications. I wouldn't say through my own fault. It was my fault. It was not the pattern's fault, but I'll explain. So I made a big gauge swatch, and I tried a few different needle sizes, and I tried 2 strands and then 3 strands, and ended up going down a size because my gauge was slightly bigger. So I erred on the side of smaller, but when I finished, the shoulders came down to here, and then there was the puff shoulder. It was way too big in the shoulders. Oh, there's some Edison pins here. Never mind them. So it didn't fit. It was way too big in the shoulders. And I hummed and hawed over what to do. I would have had to undo the sleeves. I would have had to undo the whole thing. I don't know how I would have done it, because it wasn't just a steek. It was like all the way across. So what I ended up doing was, I have a sewing machine, which I am poor at using. I tried to reinforce the places I was going to cut with my sewing machine, and then I just cut them and sewed it all back together. And it went pretty well here. I think that that looks okay. It doesn't look as good as if I had just made the right size, but the side seams are sort of tragic. Can you see how wiggly that is? I didn't sew it in a wiggle, but I think that the seam is longer. It's stiff and long, so it has to wiggle. And I don't think it can be fixed. Oh, this side is... Anyway, I don't think it's particularly noticeable if I'm wearing it, and I was just felt desperate to have a holiday jumper. I really wanted to make one, and I think that this embroidery, which I've had to modify a little bit so that it'll fit across the chest, I think it's really cute. And I really love this fabric, and for once the sleeves aren't too short, so that's a win, if anything. I would make this again. It was 8 stitches too big in the shoulder, so 8 on this side and 8 on this side, and I think it's because you decide the size that you make based on bust measurement, and proportionally my bust to shoulder proportions are much smaller shoulders than you might expect with somebody who has a 40-inch bust like I do. So I think that that is why it didn't fit me in the shoulders, because my gauge in this is exactly the same as the gauge in my swatch. So I think it just, the model that it was written on was very differently proportioned for me. So now I know that, and I think I would make this again. I mean, I say that after everything. I don't know if I've ever made a knitting pattern that wasn't socks twice, but I really like this. I really like the fit. I think that this is, I've seen some really fun interpretation, like non-holiday interpretations of patterns to go in this area. I like it over a turtleneck, and I do think that this wool softens up a lot as it's washed. I think it's so just gorgeous, gorgeous wool. So this is, I've shown you now everything that I made in the year 2021, and it's dark outside, sort of. I hope that you enjoyed seeing things. I'd love if you have anything to say. I'd love to chat in the comments. I think that's 19 items, so that's pretty cool. Definitely learned a lot of new techniques this year. I'd never put a button band on a cardigan. Well, I don't know where which I did in my first cardigan of the year. I'd never sewn a neckline onto a cardigan or a jumper, which I've done now a lot this year. I learned how to do short row sleeve. That was cool. And I guess I steeked for this, but it was it was a poor mockery of what people would probably consider as steeking. That's a goal for next year. So that's about it. I plan on making a normal format knitting podcast every couple of weeks, and I can maybe show you all of my works in progress, which include the Stephen West shawl and another shawl and some other exciting stuff. And I'm excited to be joining a knitting community online. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again soon.